hours on November 4th, 2020, and I call the meeting of the Apache Junction Parks and Recreation Commission to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, we can. Commissioner Luciana Buzin?
Present.
Commissioner Frank Schoenbeck?
Here.
Chairman Wayne Standage?
Here.
Vice Chairman Heather Moeller?
Here.
Commissioner Walker Waldy?
Here.
Commissioner Judy Bory? Here. And Commissioner DeLay-Kine?
Here.
We have a quorum. Everybody's present.
Everybody's present. Okay, may we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. One sec. Okay, do I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept tonight's agenda as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner DeKine?
Here.
Yes. Okay. Luciana Buzin?
Is present.
Acceptance of the agenda. So you
Here.
accept the agenda?
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Schoenbeck?
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Heather Moeller?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker Waldy?
Yes.
And Commissioner Judy Bory?
Yes.
Okay. The agenda has been accepted in a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Thank you. Our next issue is acceptance of minutes for the last meeting, which was October, what was that date? October 7th. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I make the motion to accept the October 7th.
Okay, thank you. And then I need a second, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Judy. Okay. Now, we do need to have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Judy Bory?
Yes.
Commissioner DeKine?
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano Buzin?
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Schoenbeck?
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Heather Moeller?
Yes.
And Commissioner Walker Waldy?
Yes.
Okay, the minutes are accepted in a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Our next item will be Parks and Recreation Director's Report. Liz, could you introduce our new member, please?
Absolutely. Yes, so definitely want to just introduce Dee Kind. She is our newest member to the Parks and Rec Commission. Jesse will be moving on to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and so he was not selected to return for his next term for here. So we're really happy to see Dee. Jesse will be joining us on our dog park little citizen committee, so he can kind of stay involved. But I was hoping that maybe Dee could just share a little bit about herself and some of the reasons why she wanted to be involved with this commission.
Of course. So I was actually born and raised in Apache Junction, so I am a local. I did decide when I, was turning 18, I was like, I'm going to leave. I want to adventure. I moved to Gilbert for a year. Thought that was going to be like life in the great city. And then I decided in that year to buy a home in Apache Junction, and I've been a homeowner for 10 years. I've worked in Gilbert a lot with Starbucks, and that was always like my community, but not really my community. So the last few years, it's like, you know what, I need to get involved where I live, and this is very much coming more of my community. I really love our open spaces. I always joke that the superstitions aren't real, like they just are too beautiful. And like my family, one side's from England, and they always come out here and they're just like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And I think when you're a kid growing up, you don't like your community always. Like you do, but it's like, I want to adventure, and the more as an adult that I've gone to like England to see family and other places, you learn to love. And I come home and I have just a bigger appreciation for it. So wanted to get involved and just really show my love for that community and serve it.
Well, we are very happy to have you, and I'm sure as we go, there'll be some things that we've been working on for a while. I tried to bring Dee up to speed a little bit last week, but certainly ask questions, and we'll kind of try to fill in the blanks, and then always, anytime after a meeting, if you want to reach out to myself, you can. I wanted to mention also in this director's report that next month is going to be Joel coming to do the update on all of the
That's right.
rules. So open meeting law, all of those different things. Something also as a reminder, and Dee, I'm sorry I didn't share this with you earlier, but when we'll send out a lot of group emails. We can't like it's fine if you're saying I'm here or I'm going to be there, but I turned it on, I thought. Sorry. Maybe I turned it off.
I like
when
how he
got
doesn't
up
say
there.
anything, he just looks at you like.
I know. But that we only respond to either myself or Mary. We can't have a whole conversation through email because it breaks open meeting laws, but Joel will be going into that in fun detail. We do need a quorum, so please don't suddenly be sick for next December's meeting. There are some new things with the ethics and some things that they've put forth. He will go through them as quickly and painlessly as possible. And he's great for answering questions if you do have some concerns or questions that you might want to know. So moving into the facilities portion, a couple of things that are just on the radar right this moment. We're going to talk about some of them later today, so I'm just going to focus on some things that aren't on our agenda. We are doing our major LED light retrofit at the Multi-Gen Center, and so we were able to do this project within the budget of our electricity this year, plus our rebate, and then the cost of the new LED lights. We're going to come out even in our budget this year. So we're taking this year as an advantage to go in. We are trading out every single room to LED it'll be a serious savings in energy efficiency each year. Additionally, we are looking at doing the same SRP's rebate program with some of our HVAC units. So we have two $80,000 units. They cost $80,000 to install, so they have to bring in a crane. They're our biggest units that we have. Their life has been extended about 5 to 7 years beyond, what they can do. Our Public Works Department has done lots of different things with it. They've replaced as much things that they could do to kind of keep it together, but we really have to buckle down. One of those are going to have to be replaced this year, and then one next year. Those were not planned in the budget, but it will not probably come out of our budget, but the city does have an emergency fund. One of those units is at 25% capacity right now and has been for a little while, so we are working with SRP and their rebate program for that as well, so that we can do that. And then once we do, it will be a much more energy efficient model. So that's a major project at the Multi-Gen Center. We've been taking advantage of this time where our numbers are down a little bit. We don't have as many classes in some of the activity rooms to knock out as much of these things as we can. Just a report on a couple weekends ago, almost 3 weekends ago, we had our Make a Difference Day out at Silly Mountain Park and at the Focal Point. I believe Jesse Gage was able to join us on that date. We had about 30 volunteers come out to Silly Mountain, and they replaced plant signage, did a ton of weeding and picking, trimming of plants, and then planting about 15 to 20 other plants in that area. And then Focal Point was just a really big cleanup project behind, identified some irrigation issues and helped us to kind of fix up that whole area. So that was super successful. We're very thankful to the Community Development Corporation who spearheaded that Make a Difference Day and then chose 2 of our areas as the projects. I'm just reminding you one more time that overseeding is pretty much wrapping up at all of our parks, but that we did different parks this year than we have in the past in order to save some money in water. And because we don't have quite the usage that we are normally having this year, we are taking a year off from Prospector Park. Those fields still look nice right now, but they will start to turn a little bit more yellow in that December, January timeframe. And then hopefully in February into February when it starts to warm up, it'll green up again. We are also not doing the Little League complex, again, for some of those same reasons. It will be ready for Little League season. That's summer grass anyways. So we made that decision to not do those two fields. Instead, we did some smaller areas that tend to get neglected or that we don't overseed every year. And they were much smaller, a little bit more cost effective. So the City Hall complex park and the library area in front of that, so that's all looking really nice. Veterans Memorial Park, which we'll be talking about later today, and then Superstition Shadows ball field, the junior ball field there got overseeded. It's looking really nice. So just as a reminder. Anything else on facilities that you guys have noticed or have a question on?
Fine. Anybody?
Okay. And so in programs update, I just have a few quick updates. Halloween last weekend was a humongous success. I'm so proud of our recreation staff. I mean, they've definitely taken every major event we do. So disappointed that we can't do it in our traditional way in our community, but have really made it special, and we've gotten just so much great feedback on it. So on Halloween, from 2 to 5 p.m., we had 25 drive-through booths that were decorated. We worked with the business community and other nonprofit organizations, as well as our park facilities, and all of those folks dressed up, gave out candy, and people drove through in their cars. Our folks in the booth through, they needed to be masked, and they had to have packaged candy, which we normally do anyways. We worked very closely with Charlie Weiss and Lost Dutchman Realty. He has sponsored the trunk or treat this will be the third year. So he joined on board this year, even though it wasn't going to be a trunk or treat. He still helped us to get all the candy donated from the businesses. He rounded up all the businesses that were participating in our event, and then he's the one who runs around like mad on that day to help us to get candy to all the right places, go buy more candy at Fry's when we started to run out. So that was a huge thing for us. We are still getting in reports of what the numbers were for each booth, but we were hearing that no less than 500 cars through each station, and upwards of 1,000 kids that they were basically 1,000 pieces of candy that are pieces of little packets that they passed out. So our businesses and organizations were really happy with the turnout, and we had a lot of really great feedback. There's still, I believe right now, they're still doing the costume contest online and the pumpkin contest. Those are all few little things that, again, that we don't do normally and that we're learning a little bit as we go. So, but there's a lot of great pictures on there, and a lot of great people had entered into that. Softball is starting next week, so this will be our first adult softball season during our COVID. We do have some minor modifications when people are out in the playing field. We've kind of followed what the AIA, some of the sports guidelines of CDC and the state health department are recommending. If people can physically distance and can stay apart, then that's fine. We are requesting that people wear a mask. We'll see how it goes next week. They had their coaches meeting this week. Everybody's ready to get out on the field, so we're just really asking that they do their very best to comply and to do what they can to follow kind of the new rules. Soccer starts this Saturday, so again, very similarly, while the kids are out in the field playing, they won't be wearing masks, but in some of their areas where they have to be close contact or they're near each other, we're asking them to have masks. We'll be spreading spectators and everybody out in the park so that they can have plenty of distancing. And then our coordinator is going to be on site the whole time. Just really, we think that our biggest challenge is just those first couple of days, really helping people to understand the importance of following some of the guidelines that we have. Any questions on those programs that are going on right now? I am going to give you a little bit more details on our COVID update of what's going on and what's not going on, but other than that, if there's questions about Halloween or...
Anybody?
Okay.
No.
Oh, I do.
Oh.
When is the cutoff date? Like, when are you going to announce the winners to the costume contest and the pumpkin carving?
Great question, and I thought about asking that. My understanding is that it was going to be out for a week, so I'm going to guess end of this week, but we'll definitely send it out to you guys so you know. And I know it's advertised on something on one of the sites, but I'll send it out to you guys so that you'll know. Sorry.
No, I saw the pictures and or the costumes, and I'm like, yes. Yeah, I liked them all, and then it was like, oh, that's how you vote, is you like on it. I was like, oh, I like them all. I can't unlike them.
You can, but you probably would feel bad, so.
There are a couple that I wrote comments
Right.
on, like,
Oh,
ooh,
good.
yikes, or ooh, you're a villain, so hopefully that helps.
We'll have to have Jamie come more often because would be much better at explaining some of the details of some of our events. That's all I have on the director's report.
Okay, now we'll move to old business, please.
I don't have a whole lot to report on the dog park, but I do have a few quick updates, and I'm just going to open up our old presentation just so I can have the park up. So we did get our 90% drawings finally at the end of last week, and we've gotten all of the comments back from the people that I was most worried about, which is all of our drainage folks, so Sam Jargice in the Development Services Department. They still have a few other areas that are looking at some of our final things, but there's nothing. They're really happy with the changes that were made and feel that everything is meeting their expectations for drainage. So that was one of our biggest challenges and our biggest considerations. Additionally, our estimates, and again, these are just their best guess estimates right now with some of our all that additional concrete that we're adding in. It actually came in much lower than I was expecting. Part of it is because they took out, I think they had something like a 20%, why can't I think of the not change order, but 20%, contingency, sorry, the thought ran out of my mind. I think in the 60%, they put that big chunk in there just more like as a space holder, but that's gone now. And so we're still looking at about our $800,000 number. And then beyond, it's about $900,000 if you look at some of the solar lighting that we're proposing. So we're still on target with what we kind of thought the project was going to be. So that made us very happy. So again, we have the 3 areas. We have reached out to all of our previous citizens that had given input in the early phases about which location we were going to pick and the amenities. And they have all been invited to be a part of the committee. They are giving me their best dates, and we're going to try to plan our date around them, and then we'll be inviting the rest of the community out once they know what that monthly meeting is going to look like. And just as a reminder, this group is going to help us to look at rules and regulations to bring back to all of you. They'll look at some fundraising. They will be tasked with coming up with some of the fundraising ideas, helping us with our corporate partnership campaign, and some of the grant stuff will be really helpful having that citizen committee to work with this. They'll also be able to give a little bit of feedback to the Art Commission as they look at some of the art applications there. So we have about 7 people that have said that they would be willing to be a part of this citizen group. They were all very they were all very much on board with it, where it's located, the amenities that we had determined. They're very much on par with what we're doing. So I think it's going to be a great group. We also added 2 of our Youth Advisory Council members. So 2 of our students will be on this committee as well. And then they'll go back and take back questions to their Youth Advisory Council and then kind of be that student voice on the committee. Additionally, part of that initial group was Jenny Flood and Lori from the Paws and Claws Center. Jenny is going to be on our committee as well, so making sure that we have our animal control department, Paws and Claws, represented, I think is really important as well. They'll probably be able to utilize it for a lot of different things. So that's all that I have up to date on the dog park. There's not a lot of changes on that. We met our new grants person. We've given her a list of about 8 grants that we feel they're pretty small, but they were the ones that we could find. So they might be able to help with some of our small amenities. And then we are working with some of the Native American tribes that do some of the 2% gaming grants. We do understand that those are a little bit lower probably in this next year just because casino numbers are down a little bit. But they were definitely very interested in our project, just as they were when we did Flatiron. So that's kind of the update for all of you on Dog Park. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions?
Will there be a vet on site at times, or part of the committee, or?
You know what? That actually is not a member of the committee right now. I think that's a great idea. So I think when we we can definitely reach out. In fact, there were a couple of vets organization or veterinarian offices that have reached out about being a part of a fundraising event or doing, or corporate partnership, so that maybe they'd want to also be involved in the committee. That's a great idea.
Or an educational?
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
shot?
Well, absolutely. When we open, I know Paws and Claws kind of works with an organization that does their portable trailer that comes out. But I think that that's a great, and also maybe a great opportunity for other corporate partnerships after the park is even open. To be able to have your business there, there might be some kind of sponsorship opportunities or partnership types of things. So that's great. Yeah, I think, you know, we used to do dog obedience classes all the time in our parks. We've really gotten away from that. I think it'll be a great way to kick that off again. Lots of different training models that people are interested in. We worked with Toonie House, who does a lot of the training in the community, her nonprofit organization, and so she gave a lot of feedback on some of these things as well. Great suggestion. Any other questions?
No, I don't have one. Anybody?
Do you want me just to move on to my next item?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, Apache Trail median update. Again, just a really quick, brief announcement for all of you. This is the area that we are doing. So again, this is like the phase 2. There are 10 stretches that we'll be actually doing. So that's probably 10 years, unless we really get going in a couple of years. We did our first areas on the bookends of between Meridian and Phelps. This one is right here at Ironwood and going east. If you drive by there right now, they've done all the digging. Today, earlier this week, they pre-augured all the holes. We will have our first planting this Saturday for all of the regular plants. And we've opened that up to members of the community that want to come out and help with that. Our park staff will be out there, and Nick Blake, and we'll be having folks kind of stay in their own groups and be able to help plant some of the plants that'll be out there. We have about 150 plants to plant. This is going to be a much easier project than last year because all the holes have been pre-augured, so they don't have to dig through rock to plant anything. So it should go a lot quicker. We are meeting out there at 8 a.m. this Saturday and planning on staying out there no later than 11. It might wrap up sooner. We've let people know that if they want to park over here at the edge of this parking lot is allowed, and then they can walk over using the crosswalk. We are asking people just to have a mask handy, so that way if they have to be near other people or whatever, they can have a mask. But if they can physically distance, we're going to be very spread apart in this whole project. So it's not necessary the whole time. We're providing all of the tools. Again, if somebody would prefer just to have their own tools for safety reasons or whatever, they're welcome to bring that. But we'll have everything, new gloves and all kinds of things, refreshments, water, and snacks for that morning as well. Any questions? Oh, and so we'll do the planting of the plants this Saturday, and then the following Saturday, the Arizona Sustainability Alliance, those volunteers will come out and they're going to be planting the trees. They're the ones who donated all the trees. They donated about $1,500 worth of really nice 25-gallon trees, which is bigger than what we put in last time. So they'll be a little bit more fuller right off the get-go. They purposely have to keep their group pretty small because they have some very strict COVID restrictions for their group. And so we're not really opening that one up. I mean, if somebody from the public wanted to be a part of it, they can certainly reach out and I will help to get them connected, but we're not really promoting that one. Our Youth Advisory Council is participating on both days, though. So they have split up and they'll be part of them on either of the 2 Saturdays. You're going to see a little wait before a lot of the rock goes in. Our rock, we are kind of low on the list for the rock shooter that's coming to be spreading our granite. So that's probably going to be more in December. We don't anticipate a lot of heavy rain or anything like that, so I think we'll be okay. Our guys will just kind of keep a monitor on that. It should be fine with the type of plants that we're doing right now. We don't want to put in the riprap and everything until we get the granite in. That was a major fiasco last year. So, all right. Any questions on Apache Trail Median?
Do they plan to go east of Idaho someday?
It's actually, that's a great question. It's actually not on our full plan, but I can't imagine that it already has the granite in there and it already has curbing. It might be a simpler project. I think the only problem there is that there's no mounding, and we'd have to go in and it'd either have to be just really flat and plain, or we'd have to take out the granite and then do some of that mounding. And so we'll have to kind of see what they want to do there. I don't know why it didn't go in that direction. I think just the original TIF funding was from Idaho to Meridian for some reason.
I travel a lot the other way from Idaho to Goldfield.
So I will say, Goldfield was an experiment that failed miserably. We wanted to show a little area of wild seed, like put down a wild seed mix, very inexpensively, and just kind of water, put it in before it was going to rain, and nothing ever came for the next year or two. It was so I think we would probably try hydro-seeding it this next time, something a little bit that can stick a little bit more, something a little bit more guaranteed to sprout. We definitely want to do something of a wild seed mix in there, show what that's going to look like if it were kept fairly nice with just some of the native grasses and native plants. And then people could kind of say, do I like it better completely bare or like this? Obviously, our best scenario is what we have in the median right now, the Idaho to Phelps. We just don't have the funding for that at this point in time. So, but who knows? Because we're on Apache Trail Median, and so I'll just tie it to the south of 60. The state land did sell today. That's super exciting news. It can be very exciting for the Apache Trail Median project that may be able to bring in development fee money that we can do other things. I will have a lot more to share with you on the rest of that at the next meeting. We just learned today. So very exciting. The person who had put in all of that original pre-work is actually the one who won the bid. Very competitive bidding process, it looked like to me. Super exciting. So we'll have more to share with that at the next. I will promise that in addition to Joel's quick legalese, we will also have news about south of 60. So you don't want to miss that.
I get to hear Joel on Monday coming up.
Okay. See, you should be able to come
For
late.
another board?
Okay. All right. Do you mind if I just keep moving?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Don't be afraid that this is a lot. I just try to put it in the same format that we shared in September because it's easier than you just trying to listen to me and remember what I'm saying. The MGC and Fitness Center really hasn't changed a lot since that date. That's when we had just opened up in early September. So things have not changed. We are still at the same regulations because the county benchmarks have not moved. They're actually going in the wrong direction right now. Hopefully that doesn't stay that way so that we get shut down. I don't think we will. I think we're prepared now as well that even if they decided to shut down, that we could do our appeal and do extra measures to make sure that we stayed in a safe and healthy manner. So again, just a few quick reminders. These are the areas that are open right now. We're allowed to be open at 25% capacity. We have to take reservations, and and everybody has to wear a mask. That was the one restriction that we were most worried about. But we've honestly really not had a lot of major issues with it. I'm sure it does prevent some people from coming because it's harder for them to work out with a mask. But we have added a lot more outside group fitness classes. So we have a yoga that's outside. We have a couple of other things where they can stay physically distanced, plenty of room, and then they can not have to wear their mask during that exercise. So we have been able to add a few more of those types of things. Everything else is really dependent on the community, having reduced numbers, the hospital beds not, getting maximized, all of that kind of stuff, staying low. So as soon as that can get back under control, we hope to be able to eventually go to that next level. I did have a few numbers really quickly to share with you on that. I asked Larry Binion to kind of pull what we are experiencing. Right now, we are at about 25% of our normal visits. Don't confuse that with being at 25% capacity. So like we're not ever usually at 25, we're not ever at 100% capacity in our center. But normally we would have a little over 5,000 visits in September, and I'm talking about membership visits, so people working out, not everybody in the facility. We would normally have 5,000, a little over 5,000 members visit. We had 1,251 visit in September, so we're right at about 25%. October did increase quite a bit. We are at about 30% of our normal October numbers. So that was kind of a good sign that people were starting to feel a little bit more comfortable to come back. Like I said, don't get that confused with the whole 25% capacity, because it's 25% capacity at any one single time. That's what we have reservations for. So we can be at there's 1 hour slots, so we can have multiple people during those time frames. We are beefing up our marketing a little bit more in this next month, because numbers are really low and we do need to get them up. We have reduced all of our staff. We didn't hire a lot of year-round staff this year. Nobody lost their job that didn't anybody who already worked for us is working for us. We did not, as I told you before, hire back any new staff. We haven't filled any of our vacancies for our rec assistant, our senior rec leader. So we've had a lot of savings in that way. A lot of our full-time staff, coordinators, they are handling counter coverage. Mary, again, I said that last time, but we're really just trying to make do with the staff that we have so we can keep these amenities open and also not drain our city tax funds. The activities and events, not a lot has changed. We have modified large community events, similar to the Halloween event. We are planning a holiday light parade. It's going to be different this year. I mentioned it before. They just finished the draft of the flyer today. They're working with the Chamber of Commerce on adding a few things. So I apologize, I don't have that for you today. I will email it out to you, though, so that you guys will have it, and it will be shared, obviously, on our social media. The idea for the holiday event is that we will have a lot of those extra virtual types of things happening, but the parade itself is going to actually be a reverse parade. So the light parade entrance will be stationary on the road, and then the businesses are going to be very involved. So we're going to try to get as many of the Apache Trail businesses lit, and then people will basically enter at Idaho and north of Flatiron Park, and they will drive down North Apache Trail, which is where Flatiron Park is, and that's where a lot of those entrants are going to be. They'll drive through there. It's going to be one-way traffic, and they'll drive through there and then get onto the main Apache Trail and be able to see the businesses. There'll be a map because we have other businesses throughout the city that are going to participate, and so that map will be kind of they'll get to get around and look at all the different lit displays at the different businesses. We worked closely with the police department and the public works department to try to find the safest way of doing it. We all were hoping to do it on the trail itself. It's just too busy of a road. We would end up having to close it down, and if we want to really partner with the businesses and make it meaningful for them, then having it open where people can stop in and get their food or go get whatever they need to get done. We think that that's the best way of doing it. It'll be paired up with the jingle in the junction that the chamber is going to be leading. People will get to vote on their favorite business's display, and they'll get to get that plaque to keep up in their business throughout the year. Questions or other ideas? They are putting together a Santa tour where Santa will go around to neighborhoods and some different things. People can request to have Santa drive down their neighborhood, and they'll work out a little scheduled plan. I don't know all the details of that. I know that's happening. We are going to have a lighting of the tree. It will be a virtual tree lighting. I imagine people will still show up there, and we'll just try to keep them physically distanced, but it's going to be advertised as a virtual tree lighting. Any other thoughts or ideas that you guys have? or that you've seen other cities doing that you'd like me to share with staff?
Anybody?
Or concerns with anything that we've said so far?
So all of the businesses, excuse me, all of the businesses are going to be decorated along,
Every business that we can get to do it
uh,
will be decorated along the Apache Trail, as well as North Apache Trail, the ones across from Flatiron. And also throughout the community. So like Little Prospector, I know there's just a ton of other, Fry's, and some of those other ones might also participate. And we are really going to have a campaign to get out, and Janine Sully and Alon Valander with our economic development group, the business advocates, will be helping us to kind of spread the word and get everybody. And the goal is they have to be obviously ready by December 5th. So Saturday, December 5th, I think that's the Saturday, that is the date of the reverse light parade, whatever that first Saturday is. And so getting them going right now to get all their plans and to get things up and ready to go. So that'll be our goal.
I wonder if the ambassadors at the chamber, might be able to.
Well, so the chamber is it's the whole business lighting them, the jingle in the junction, lighting of the business is a chamber event. So it's their thing.
Okay,
So the ambassadors should definitely be involved.
okay.
And you probably just don't know yet because they are fine-tuning their flyer and their information. I know Jeff Kopp said that they have a meeting tomorrow with Denise we've been talking about it for a while, but I think getting all the little details to send out. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Youth and adult sports. As I said before, we've got softball starting up this Saturday. We had our first week of pickleball league happened this past week. People are following the rules that we've asked. They're definitely, we've done all the little things that we can do to, just reduce risk. There's nothing we can do to completely prevent anybody from catching COVID, but we can do a lot of things to help prevent it and help people to be as safe around each other as possible. So soccer starts this Saturday, like I said, and softball starts next week. Senior services has not changed at all. So you have all those in front of you. We are working closely with our partners to talk about how can we start gradually bringing some things back. But because the numbers have increased again, we're still just being cautious. And we've been asked to continue to be cautious by our partners that help fund all of those programs. So these are all still happening, though, and very popular. Parks and outdoor spaces, again, nothing really has changed since the last time that we talked. The one thing that I want to mention, though, is that we are, I think we are talking about considering groups of 50 or more and groups of 50 in September. We've already been having some of those. So we've been experimenting with that a little bit. We worked with Joel Stern, our city attorney, and our Southwest Risk, our risk services company that does all of our liability insurance. And basically, if somebody wants to reserve our facility, we ask for their COVID plan. If they're going to have anything more than 10 people, they're going to give us a COVID plan, let us know how they're going to follow the guidelines based on what they're doing and what the recommendations of the CDC and the state health department are. It's up to them to say which things make sense. We'd review it. If we have concerns, we will let them know, and we will work with them to kind of find a happy medium of how to keep the community the safest. If it's a private event, again, we kind of would work with them, but it's on them. It's on them to enforce. They sign a COVID waiver that they're responsible for it, and that is what we have been told is the best way to go. We've had a few groups. We had Imagine Prep Football usually has their home games at Prospector Park. We thought they had a good understanding of how they were going to handle things the first night. A lot more people than they said would be there. I think they were surprised at the turnout. Mm-hmm. There was really no enforcement of any of the rules that AIA and some of the other stuff. And again, I just think they have less, they just don't have the same type of staff commitment of being out there. And so we had to sit down with them and say, if we're going to continue, there's got to be changes. And so we worked with them to add some event fencing. So that way they could kind of control their area a little bit better, have access to signage, they ended up implementing a two spectators per player, like most all of the other high schools are doing all over the state. And they had a much more reasonable crowd, and it was much more manageable. They hire an off-duty officer anyways to help out with their event. I just share that with you and they're a great partner. They do their very best. We work very closely with them. I just think it's a good example of what our role is in this. So we don't want people to not be able to not do anything. We want people to use our facilities safely and to do the best thing for our community. But if they don't have a good plan, the rule in the state health department's guidelines says that groups of more than 50 can only gather with the local authorities, and with following of the guidelines. So our interpretation of that is that if we are going to give that permission, we have to at least have some type of conversation and some kind of that the guidelines are being followed to the best of anybody's ability. Again, is it going to solve every problem? No, but it should be the very best that it can. And I think we've done a pretty good job of it. I will tell you it's challenging for our staff to kind of try to help people and help people to understand how important it is. But for the most part, people want to use the facility, and they've been really good about trying their best to kind of follow what we're giving. I think we're going to have more and more of those come up as we go, but we have the backing of our police department and our city attorney and then city management that this is kind of the approach we want to take as of right now. Any questions on that? Yes.
Do you provide the checklist for them or the CDC?
Yes, so we actually provide them what it says that are the recommendations. Some of them are requirements, and then some of them are recommendations. So they do have the ability to kind of pick and choose the things that they think they can enforce or that they think. And let's say, for example, the not controlling the amount of people there, well, then we'll work with them to find out a way to help them to put that thing in place, like we would with our own programs. Our city and our county does not have a mask mandate. So again, we try to be in that realm of if you can't physical distance, then you should really be following what the recommended guidelines are. We can't really come right out and say you must make everybody wear a mask.
We were hosting some national youth sports, and we ran into similar problems that you did, and they decided to relocate. It was kind of coincidental, but I was close to running them out because the lack of cooperation.
Right.
It's amazing that they want to have the event,
right,
but not follow the rules that are necessary to have the event safely.
And I think that's the thing right now that everybody's trying to work on. We all want to get back to normal. Here are some of the things that they're saying that would make it easier for us to get back to normal and not spread or whatever. Again, everybody can have their own opinions of all that, but the bottom line is those are what the directive is. And liability-wise, while maybe somebody couldn't prove that they got COVID at one place, they certainly could prove that we're not doing everything we should. Bryant Powell has a famous Swiss cheese analogy that I just feel like I have to share because I finally figured it out. He explained it he always would say it and I didn't understand it. But that all the layers of protection that you have with COVID is like layers of Swiss cheese. They all have different holes in different places. So physical distancing is one layer, wearing a mask is a layer, washing your hands is a layer, not being in a big gathering is a layer. The more of those layers that you stack up together, if you tried to stick a needle through one of the holes, it might run into another piece of cheese. It's much harder for that needle or whatever it is to poke through a wide open, unless they're the same hole. Never mind. I should have just put a picture up there. It'd be better. But that all those layers, and if you can't do one of them, if you had enough other ones, then you are doing your part to kind of help. And I just think that's what I kind of try to tell our staff. Some of us roll our eyes at, doing this or doing that it's not going to prevent it. It won't. Every one individual thing is probably not enough, but enough things together will help with reducing the spread.
Liz?
Okay.
Liz?
Yes.
Now, the Imagine Prep schools, their football games, that's coming in a category of larger than considered, so it's on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
I'm just was looking at how it would fit in up there.
On this scale. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good to me. It gets the chance for people to go out and do something.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, we can all agree that Bryant is the big cheese.
Yes, I will share that. Yes,
But he is-
agreed.
He is a slice above the rest.
He is the slice.
Yes,
Slice above the rest.
he really is. Aw, that's nice.
Just tell them the committee loves them.
I will. And then lastly, just a reminder of our wellness and emergency response role as a Parks and Recreation Department. So we
Right.
do play a role in the community for emergency response. We are a point of distribution for different things. Our multi-generational center has, so if there was a need of water distribution or at some point if there is a vaccine or some other kind of health emergency, the MGC has been identified as a point of distribution or a place of gathering. With that in mind, we did talk with, and I shared this last time, I just want to share it one more time, that we do have a drive-through free COVID testing site on our site, and so we've had a whole month of that since we last talked. I did bring my numbers. 1,700 people have gone through just our location. They do about 5,000 people a day all over the state of Arizona, this company does. And they're rebranding to Embry Health because they're not just for women's health, I guess. So they're going to be changing here soon. But for now, I just wanted to put this in your sheet so that you could go to it if you needed to. It is on our Facebook page. It's pretty frequently shared on the city's Facebook page. Again, regardless of what anybody thinks about testing or the virus or anything like that, the reality is that many employers, in order to be able to go to work, if you happen to be a close contact, if you're in a school and you become a close contact, there's a lot of reasons why people have to go get a test. And for a long time, I know here in the city, it was really difficult for us to find a place to go test if you weren't symptomatic. Right, that's the right way of saying it. You might wait 2 or 3 or 4 days to even get into an appointment. Well, now, I just logged onto it today at 2:49 p.m., and they had a slot open at 2:50 p.m., and one every 5 minutes after that. So, it's easy to get into. It's right out in front of the Parks and Rec main office. It's super fast. They have had a little bit more lines lately, but it's like a line of 10 cars is lined up, and then they all come in, and there's no line anymore, and they go very fast. And I know...
And
Yes.
I've already done it, and it was real simple and easy and less than probably five minutes.
Nice. And I think you were telling me you got your results back in a very, quick fashion, and that's what we heard from a lot of other people as well.
I'm meeting with a representative on Friday. They're talking about putting a site out at church.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I wish I'd have thought to send them to you in the first place
Well,
because they were asking for more locations, and we were kind of trying to figure out where they could.
So do they stay set up overnight, or do they take down every day? And what days of the week do
There's
you have
certain things that they leave, like their trailer, like their thing that has to stay.
Right.
But they also kind of know that it's at their own risk. They also usually have 24/7 sites, so they might be looking for that. And again, they can not do certain days of the week and do other days.
They're looking at Monday through Thursday for us.
Okay, so they're pretty I feel like they were pretty
Real
flexible.
flexible.
They've been awesome to work with, and we just have heard a lot of good things. It's helped a lot of our local businesses who needed to get workers back quickly, being able to have that resource to go down the road, go get it taken care of, and then know within, the next, I think their time frame is growing a little bit. It might be a little bit more than 2 days now, just because they're seeing so many more people. I think they're seeing about 50 to 100 people a day at our site, and they are looking for other sites to expand.
They're hiring too, if anybody knows anybody looking
good.
for help or looking for work. That's what they told me, they were hiring.
The last thing that I promised to share with you, and it's not a slide, but I mentioned last time that so we ended our fiscal year, our 2019-2020, last June to this past, June 2019 to July 2020 is our fiscal year.
Right.
A good chunk of that was in COVID, and we do have concerns about our budget and about, where we're at and all of that. Jamie did some calculating, and this is just on the recreation side because that's the part that was most dramatically affected. We we're down in revenues about $175,000 from March to the end of July, which is really, that's a fourth of our budget. So we are down, that's a fourth of what we project usually for revenues. So we were down about 25% in revenues. But we saved so we're down $175,000. We saved about $168,000 in, we didn't have as many hours, we didn't hire as many staff this summer. We had programs that we would normally be paying instructors. We had utility bills that were much more reduced. So we had a lot of savings as well. And so I was really proud of our Recreation and our Parks Department for really recognizing that we're not just a bottomless pit. It's not just taxpayer, there's not an unending taxpayer money to pay for things. So it's not just being open or having events because we want to. We definitely need to do our critical services and make sure we're providing the services we do to our community, but knowing that we have to be conscious of the money part of that. And so I think they did a really good job. I mean, it's almost a wash there in that. That's never good news in general, but we haven't looked at this part of the year. It's going to continue in that way, and we'll look and assess that. But right now, we've been doing okay, and we've had a lot of other good funding come in so that's not even that's nothing to do with senior services. Just so you know, that comes out of it has its own fund. It's fully funded by our Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens, several grants. We didn't dip into any of the money that the city you would normally put in because we didn't have all the same services. So we received a lot of extra FEMA money for our seniors, as well as extra money from Pinal Gila to do some modifications to our kitchen and some maintenance that needed to be done while we weren't operating a lunch program. So just wanted to share that with you. I'll continue to kind of try to share with you where we're at budget-wise and what that's looking like as we go. Yes?
Liz, I remember when I was on Friends, we were working with you for the taking people to the doctor and
Yes.
that kind of stuff. Is that still able
Yep,
to go on?
absolutely. In fact, we worked with CACDD, Central Arizona Council for Developmental Disabilities. They are our transportation provider. So they have a program for adults with developmental disabilities that they run an all-day program with. They have lots of vans, and so we contracted them. We pay them to move our people around. We changed all of our stuff to single-person trips, and so we have a little bit of funding for that. We're able to do a little bit of shopping still, one-on-one basis with all of these, and then we still have money left in the Friends pot from Gila River Indian Community, and so we're able to continue doing the reimbursement program for medical and shopping, I think also, yeah. Any other questions on COVID stuff?
Did the library get a hold of you? They were looking for a list of people that might want to use their free mailing for books. They were trying to get a list of people who would be eligible, and I thought that the list of people we brought meals to at home.
Yes, what we did is we took their flyer directly to each one of our people, and whenever they deliver their meals, they tell them about them. In fact, in addition, they started a book kind of swap where they have a bunch of books. People can pre-check out some of their books, and we provide that for them. So that way it gets delivered during the home delivered meal. So they've been doing that as well. Yeah, thank you. Okay. If there's no other questions, I'm going to quickly get into this last thing.
Okay.
Oh, wait, can I? Hold on, sorry. Yes, that's the next. New business. All right. So this was asked to be brought back on. So as we talk about the flag idea was brought up by community members. And as we talk about that, we had discussed that it'd be nice just to kind of know what are some of the other veterans things that have been done in conjunction with our veterans group over the year, and then to give you a little update on where we're at on the flag project. So Veterans Memorial Park is an obvious one, but it was our first one. I just wanted to mention quickly, so this was a veteran committee initiated park, very similar to the flag project. The veterans organizations, they formed a committee with, at the time, with the mayor at the time and the city manager, and Jeff Bell was heavily involved. They planned for several years this park. So they wanted to have something that would, and this is our first park that was actually built in Apache Junction. So they had a little committee. I will just tell you, as I look through those minutes, it's very interesting because they had a lot of ideas of what they wanted it to be like. And there's all the same conversations we're having right now about the flag. Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to maintain it when it's done? Who's responsible for liability? Is this what people really want? Is this what the veterans want? How does it, help people? We didn't have any other parks, though, at the time either. And so I'm sure it was very desirable to get it in. It ended up being dedicated in 1982. There was an agreement in place or a resolution that talked about whose area it was. There was a lot of verbal agreements early on, and I saw many, many details in the file about trying to solidify those when one mayor would leave and another mayor would come in of what were the promises that were made. And so it's really was an eye-opener of the types of things that we have to be cautious of, that we get things in writing and make sure that we understand all the players. But I loved they had a great committee. Our parks director was a part of that. And that group did a lot of the working through some of these plans and some of the challenges. It was dedicated in 1982, and then they did a rededication of the memorial plaques in 1993. They had gotten worn and aged, and water, I think, they're kind of getting ruined, and so they redid them in something much nicer. All the original names and then additional names were added, and they did a rededication out there. There are a lot of little plaques and things that could really be done again out here, I would just say. This is still a really great facility, and as you saw in that first project, it still has a lot of nice grass. It is a nice place for people to go and visit. The Trail of Flags was another major project, and I don't know if any of you were here when we had it. Around 2000, the Trail of Flags was started, and the idea was that it would span about 2 miles. And I put this here again because you have a copy of it, so you could take it and read it and know more information about it. But again, it was kind of the brainchild of somebody else in the community, and they brought it to the city to implement. So 2 miles along Apache Trail, there were, 78 flags. Our Public Works Department put in sleeves all throughout that trail. This veterans group raised the money for the poles as well as all the flags. And I think they raised about $8,000 is what it looked like in the file. There were a lot of just little concerns, like what's going to happen on Memorial Day. On that day, the flags have to be at half staff. That's not like that's the one day that it's in the, I don't know if it's the law or it's in something, but these would not be able to be moved to half staff. They were kind of poles that were just made in-house and put in. And so imagine, and then they would only be flown on, because there was no lighting on them, they'd have to be flown only on days that commemorate veterans' holidays. So Veterans Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Flag Day. I feel like there's 4. So imagine our public works crew going out and putting out 76 flags in these where they store them, and then taking them down that same day because they couldn't stay up so they have to go up at sunrise and they have to be taken down at sunset.
Sunset, yeah.
So that would happen. And so I'm not sure how many years it lasted, but it lasted for a few years at least. They had an idea of expanding it to other locations, and so these are what the flag poles, I don't have any pictures of the ones on Apache Trail. I tried to look everywhere for it. But these are what they looked like. They tried to kind of expand the idea to other facilities, and so they did try to work with the city in ways that would be a little bit more reasonable of the time and what was how they happened. What ended up being thought of as a different idea to do away with that whole plan and then do a really nice, very special place with all of the military flags in one location, and those are located at the marquee right now across from the focal point. I'm going to go back 1 second really quickly. One of the things, and it just kind of stuck out in my mind, that this is kind of the type of thing that we hear a lot of times. So the individual who was promoting it, he wanted to be the most patriotic city in Arizona, or maybe in the United States. It's somewhere in this article. But I mean, that was the goal of it. And I think that's what I've heard a lot about the flag that's being proposed. They want to show that we're the most patriotic by having the biggest flag or by having the most flags. So I think that they're just similar themes as we go along. And I think we are asking the right questions, and we're kind of looking to see how we might be able to do this in the future. I already showed you guys that one, but that was, the dedication was on May 2nd, 2012. So, about 12 years after the Trail of Flags, the marquee flags were complete, and you can kind of see them over here. Nick Blake had expanded. So this has not been completed yet, but it was this really cool design that kind of took all of these sections and tied them together so that the intersection here would be really cool one day. So I saw that the other day and thought that'd be great for us to continue. But here's where the flags are in this location. They're on 30-foot poles. We had a lot of vandalism in the downtown area in the first couple of years that they were up. And so they ended up having to move the mechanism that does the lowering of the flags up higher into a box. It used to be lower at regular level. So again, a great idea to prevent vandalism, but then when we try to do other events or do things to lower the flag to half staff is really difficult, because you got to lower every other military flag, lower first, and then lower the American flag down. And so we typically do not lower those flags except for on the one day that we have to lower them on. They stay up on all the other, for a while there, it was like every week there was a half flag notice. And so we don't do that just because it is not really a realistic thing. And that was shared with our veterans group and agreed on early on, and agreed on with our council. So that was the military dedication, yes.
Was there a reason they didn't put it at the veterans?
I think that the idea was the Trail of Flags was, again, I think where they kind of get to with some of these is bring it to the downtown area. I shouldn't go so quick. As you can see, at one time the flags were at the focal point. So we've moved flags so many times. Mm-hmm. We put really nice flagpoles here when the focal point was here, and now they're not there anymore because across the street is the whole military flag thing. And right. I think it was put there to be part of the design, and it made sense. Mm-hmm. You can't really do an event there. I don't think there was a reason. At one time, Veterans Park had a flag of its own, but then the PD, when it got, I don't know if it's when it got built or if later on, they put the flags in front of the PD, and then they took this one down. So I think it was, just, I think, looking for something in that area.
Because sometimes if you don't know that gazebo is,
Nobody would ever know. So there used to be a monument sign that called it Veterans Memorial Park. That is gone. I'm sorry, it is on the little, there's a little brick thingy over here at the entrance that says it, but you'd have to be coming in that way and know that's what it's talking about. There used to be something on the corner of Superstition and Idaho that identified Veterans Memorial Park. And we have talked to the veterans group about replacing that, in the future. So lots of ideas and lots of things. And so right now we are currently considering the largest flag in Arizona. I did hear that Yuma just put up a major one, and I'll have to look to see how big it is because it might be bigger. But they put it on their mountain as you come into Yuma, and one of our flag vendors was telling us about it. The most recent thing that happened, so as I shared with you before, I had shared it with council. They really wanted to just let it kind of ruminate a little bit in the community and with the council. I have not been asked to come back yet to receive a new direction to staff. I did, though, meet with the veterans, one of the main veterans group that was collecting some of the money now. They actually had a contractor come out. They walked Flatiron Park, and then they did reach out to me about a week ago, and just to kind of chat about what they discovered. I would say that they're very legitimate compared to the flag companies that I'd researched. They are looking at all the same things that I had learned that we need. I think they are proposing the 180 foot or 150 foot, and they had some reasoning behind that, so we'd look at that. But they basically said that what we did, they've only looked at Flatiron. That's what they were asked to do. if we're going to be considering other locations, then they need to come out and look at it. I think they're willing to do all of this, meeting and being a part of that committee, that veterans group, pro bono. They're doing it without getting paid for that part of it. Obviously, they'd get paid to construct it. It's not going to be paid for by the city as far as I'm concerned. I'm aware, nor the maintenance of it. And so we've gone through a lot of those different things. I just want to share with you, we've not done anything more than I've just talked with that next group. They have a number that is definitely significantly lower than what I have, but they also know that it doesn't include certain things like, handicap accessibility and some of the lighting and some of those things. But they also, I think their price is because they would be doing it kind of at cost as part of a veterans project with this group. They know the people in the group. They recognize, though, that they have to have all the permits. They know all about the FAA. I want to call it the Future Farmers of America, but it's
Federal
FAA.
Aviation.
Yes. So they're really well aware, and they've seem to have done a lot of research. And the veterans group themselves has done a lot of research. And I know that was one of the things that we had, some original concern of, that they kind of put in that same effort. And I think they do have a lot of the groups involved. And so we definitely want to be listening to, what that is. And I will let you know. I think it will come to us at some point in time. Once I know kind of what our direction is, I will definitely fill all of you in, but just kind of keep it on your radar. Keep an eye out for big flags and anything new that you might see that we should consider. I got a whole bunch more vendors that have sent me stuff. They're ridiculously priced. So I hope that they're not really any of those high-priced ones, and it really is a more reasonable number. I would like to see us definitely look at all of our facilities, though, and make sure that we're picking the right location for it, for the community. And the vendor that I talked, or the contractor that called, seemed to understand that it wasn't in stone where it was going to be at. Questions or other comments? Yes.
It just struck me of an over-concentration in one area of the city instead of kind of creating a direction, whether it's going up to Prospector Park or down Apache Trail. That would be logical to me, kind of.
And I think having a committee that might sit down and look at these, similar to what we do at the dog park. We went and looked, we had ASU come in, and I'm not saying we have to do this huge study. That's not necessary. But having some time to go and look at all the sites, nobody would have thought the county complex was a good idea if you just looked at it on paper when you're driving by. It doesn't seem big enough, and it's not everything we want, but it ended up being good for what we needed it to be. I feel like that's the same with this. We want to make sure it's going in the right place. And if it is at Flatiron, there will be other things that have to be done first. Our master plan would have to be redone. We would have to sacrifice a major ramada that's planned for that area. I don't want to say that none of those, that I don't want those things to happen. It's more I want us to consider every single one of them and make sure that the community is making a good decision about where it needs to go. Other questions?
Yeah, I see you got a little red light on the top of this pole.
They will.
FAA,
they have to have a red light.
FAA requirements are on that.
On that is the end.
Ugly pole.
There's no other facilities that are veteran-oriented? The park and the flags?
No, so those are the only ones that were done as a veterans. But hey, if you think of one, tell me, and I will. Can you think of something else?
No, I
That's the only ones I know
haven't
of.
seen really any other.
Okay.
I was
That
just
doesn't mean
wondering.
that there aren't other, there's veterans posts and all those kinds of things, but ones that the city, on city property that the city has been involved in, those are the ones. We had a temporary one, I didn't include it in our presentation, but the traveling tribute, the Vietnam veterans, is that the one? Is that what the wall was?
Wasn't that up at the Veterans Park where they displayed?
It was out at Prospector Park. It
Prospector,
took up an
okay.
the whole section of our soccer fields, and
That's right.
yeah, but it wasn't permanent, so I didn't add it
Yeah.
to the list, but we did get on their list.
Traveling tribute.
Okay. Thank you, Liz. We'll give you a break for a second here. Thank you. Our next item is call to the public. We have no public. So we will, Yeehaw, huh? Okay, request for future agenda items. I did have one. I'd called Mary about it. Do you have an update that we could do next time or our next meeting on how it's going with the rodeo grounds and BLM?
Yeah.
Just an update would be helpful. Okay, anybody else? Judy?
Liz, is there on November 14th a shred-a-thon being done by Park and Rec? Or is it multi-gen? Multi-gen?
No, Public Works maybe.
But on the 21st, they're doing theirs, but there was something in the newspaper, I thought, said something being done out here.
I will look into it.
Okay, anybody else has anything they can think of that we need help from Liz on? Okay, with that, I will call this meeting to adjournment at 7:12. Thank you all for coming.